And good Sunday morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever it is you happen to be watching this. This is the Ford van, the Phantom. This will be just because that's what's in the box doesn't mean that's what has to come out of the box build. As you can see, I've got a whole lot of sprues right here, parch trees. I've left the chrome bits in the bag, but I have opened it. The reason being is because I'm just trying to protect the chrome as best as possible until it's needed. I've also left all the clear pieces in the plastic. Here we have a windshield, two side windows, and what's supposed to be a back window. I do believe it's supposed to cover both back windows. Yeah. Then we have all the cool clear stuff here. We have smoke or tinted and regular clear. These are the different choices that you can do with your van. But as I said, we're going to go crazy with this van, so there's going to be quite a few parts left over. But essentially what we're going to do right here, we're going to cover this. The instructions are pretty straightforward. It is an AMT kit, and what I like about this is that the frame is separate from the body, or in this case this would be the interior tub, so I can lengthen the frame separate from the interior tub because I need the frame long enough to go under a pickup bed, and then I don't need as much interior tub because I'm going to be cutting the van body. But as you can see, the directions here are pretty straightforward, pretty easy to follow. This is a Ford, it's an E150, so I'm pretty sure that engine is going to be the 302, the 5.0 liter, but of course they didn't call it a 5.0. It's 302 cubic inch, I'm pretty sure, because it is just an E150. So they didn't go all out with these things. But as you can see, we have a lot of plastic going here. The body, I've already done a little bit of cleanup with it. As you can see, there's still a few bits here that need to be taken care of. Then of course I'm going to be working on scribing out the doors. I'm going to scribe the doors to where they're almost completely through to maintain structural integrity of the body. Then I'm going to cut the body and then finish cutting out the doors, and it'll be easier to do it that way, at least for me. But as you can see, there's still quite a few rough spots and rough patches here. The connection points here for the molding process, because when the company molds these things, they're doing like 20 van bodies at a time, and then workers come along after the molds. As you can see, the injection pin marks here. As soon as it's dropped out, it rolls down, probably rolls down a conveyor belt a little bit, and employees come along and they snip all the van bodies off these giant sprues and send them on their way to be packaged with everything else. But these here are older molds that Round 2 has purchased, and as you can see, there's a whole lot of flash on these things. The flash is just because the molds aren't as sharp or aren't as defined as they once were. So it's just going to be a lot of work, a lot of extra cleanup to do. These points here, those are sink marks where the mold actually pushes the completed sprue out, and it's just something you have to deal with and clean up if you want to go that route. So here you can see we have the hood, seat back. One of the seats is detached on its own. Steering column here, another seat back. Over here, oh, I love that dash detail. See, I'm old enough, I remember I actually had an old Ford van, and I loved the dash. You get in there and you sit down, it was great. Sorry, anyway. The radiator detail looks pretty good. Oh, look at that. You've actually got brake calipers here. I wonder if we'll find out when we get going along. I wonder if these are the go inside the drum, because this here older kit, the older vehicles like this, should have had drum rear and disc front. And those don't look like disc front. They could be, but they don't look like disc front. Anyway, you have your rear axle here, your independent front suspension, springs, drive shaft. This, of course, is your engine well and your firewall. Here's some extra wheel backs. Oh yeah, you can see we have a lot of cleanup to do. This is BR 302. This is basically your whole engine here. You do have some custom parts, but that looks like it's just going to be exhaust. So this will be your whole engine, which I understand. I mean, unless you're going to sit with the hood wide open and actually take time to cut out the doghouse, you're not going to see much of the engine. So to have it all here ready for paint, it works for me. I'm not even going to go all out and wire up the distributor, but I will when I get to it, I'll decide. Well, and there you go. There's another piece of flash right there. But yeah, we'll get this all cleaned up. Your front spoiler, wheel guards, and here's the frame. Here's your stock or standard exhaust, and it looks like those are cross members for the body. I love these tires, and even though I'm going to kind of go really custom with this vehicle, I don't know, I may want to save these because I love this type of rim, but I may save these for another build and just use stock rims, Steelies. But the detail here is really, really nice. We've got the van body, of course, your standard Ford Econoline E150. Your interior tub. Look at that, the front floor mats are in. And of course your metal ribbing. This is obviously just a plain interior, as if you bought the van stock as is. There's nothing in the back, no seats, no nothing. It's just a simple cargo van. So you can do a lot of whatever you want on the inside of this, especially if you're going to cut open the doors. You can do a lot of things. You can put a bed up in here, maybe a wraparound bench seat, and just really kind of go that whole shaggin' wagon look if you really wanted to. But I like this. This works really well for what we have planned. And it does come with 8 different tires. And the reason being is because you have these 4 stock tires. And then you have 4 customs. You got bigger, wider rear tires and slightly wider front tires. They are marked Goodyear. Let's see here. Yes, actually the stock tires are marked Goodyear branded too. So that works out. And you can, of course, because it is all up to you and how you want to do your kit, you can mix and match tires. These stock tires are actually slightly smaller than these custom tires, and you can really get a good rake going on it. You can get that nice mean stance on it. What I actually saw called the Ardor rake, and it's just this. The front end is lowered just a little bit and the rear end is raised just a little bit. Gives it that nice aggressive stance. It's really cool, and you can pull that off slightly with these tires, mixing and matching tires. As you can see, there's a slight difference in ride height there, and you can have a little bit of fun with it. But of course, because we're doing something different, we're going with a VUC. I've already started a little bit of construction on the bed. I've got this the bed floor itself cleaned up. I've got the inner wheel wells done. All I have to do is get the outer bed walls done, and of course the trunk. This here is, oh no, that's the front wall. I gotta find the back wall. I'll go digging through my parts and find the inner wall of the trunk here, but I'm not going to need the back wall, but this makes for extra plastic. But anyway, I'm going to get started on assembling this. We're going to get some major sub-assemblies done, get the engine together, and then we'll work on getting it cleaned up. We'll get the van body finished, cleaned up, and get the doors scribed and ready to come off. Once we have an idea precisely where we're going lengthwise on the body, then we'll come along after that and attack this interior tub so we can get this portion cut off. Now, what it's looking like, I'm going to have to take off the entire wheel well from the floor and then get some sheet styrene and lay that in nice and flat, and then we'll go from there. When we come back, we'll get started. Real quick aside, just because you see me doing this doesn't mean you have to. No, I'm not going for a competition type build, but if I were to enter it into a competition, at least I would know what kind of work and what kind of detail I put into this. I know a transmission does not have seams on it. It is cast in one body. Same with an engine block. So I am personally trying to get rid of these seams, even though if this were in a competition, nobody would see it. But I'm doing it for myself. You don't have to do it. You do for you. I'm doing it for me. But back to the fun and back to the build. Alrighty, so this is where we're at for the moment. We have quite a bit more to do. This is why this video set is going to be an extended build. I'm holding these here because these are the rims that come in the kit for this van. These are custom rims that came in my 72 Ford F100 from Mobius, and I actually like these better, and they actually fit the tires pretty well. So just a little bit of modifications. Sorry, that's my granddaughter. So just a little bit of modification. These are going to go in nice and neat in here, and I'm going to have the rims I want. These rims will go for that homage build, because my dad's truck that he had, the one that I want to recreate, as I discussed in one of my previous videos, had rims like this. So that's what I'm going to try to go with and save these for that. As you can see, I've got the doors off, and now I'm going to cut this portion of the van body off right in here. I've got a lot of cleanup in here to do. I'm going to get rid of this area here. Not, get rid of this stuff. I've just got to clean this up and flatten it up. I'm going to keep just a portion of this trim here, and the rest of this here is getting I'm going to be getting rid of it. But as you can see, I still have a lot more cleanup work to do. Instead of trying to get rid of those injection pinpoints that you see up in there, what I plan on doing is actually using a flat sheet of sheet styrene and lay it in there as the roof and just cover those, and then do something to give it a little bit of texture for a headliner. I've been playing with different bits of sheet styrene. Now, this van body is a 1977 Ford Econoline 150, and I know I actually had a 71 Dodge 3/4 ton conversion van. It was just a camper van. I'm going to kind of do something like that using styrene. I'm going to raise the roof on this, the roof line, and try to maintain that same angle, give it the camper van look. I don't know if you can picture that, but we're just going to follow the angle of the van here and raise it probably about this much. And this upper area, we'll sand these down, get rid of this portion of the roof line, and make up the bed that you would climb into. We'll actually put in here the ladder that goes up to the bed behind the driver's seat here. And because of where we're cutting this off at, I think we're just going to put in maybe maybe I think we're just going to put in some cabinetry. Maybe, because I have not decided whether or not this door will be open and I'll be showcasing any of the inside. I haven't decided yet, but it's one of those cases of this scratch build as we go along, taking the kit out of the box and build from there, that it will develop as we go along. I have a idea, a picture in my head of what I want the final result to be. And from there, we develop our technique, we develop the detail as we move along. Now the bed, the pickup bed, it's just mocked up because we got a lot of sinkholes to clean up. This here is a Mobius kit. And it's just mocked up briefly so I could get a sense of the bed once the bed is attached. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff here I need to clean up. Basically, this here's from a 72 Ford, and this here's a 77 Ford. As a pickup truck, it would have this trim line and this bottom trim, but in later years it wouldn't. And in order to make this work, what we're going to have to do, or make it look right, we're going to have to get rid of this trim line here. I haven't decided on this line though, but the trim point here and the trim point here are going away. So when we cut this off, we're going to cut off the van body right about there. So we have room to play with as livable space, as it were. So the truck bed would actually, say, connect right about here and stick out about that much further. So from there, I have to have my measurements right so I can cut this in the right spot. Now, I haven't done any trim work on this yet. I haven't done any sanding. I haven't cleaned up any of the flash yet, but as you can see, it's not quite flat. So what we're looking at here is, it's actually an easy fix. It just means that, as you can actually see here too, it's got a slight bow. Generally speaking, in this case, when this thing goes in, it would kind of, or should, straighten itself out. But the problem is this plastic is thicker than this plastic, so it could actually bow that down. So what we're going to do to fix the warp in the plastic frame here is we're going to warm up some water in a pot, and once it's good and hot, not quite boiling, we're going to take this and dip it in there several times using our pliers, holding on to it, dip it in the water, take it out, dip it in the water until the plastic itself is really, really, really warm. Not hot, just really, really warm, so it'll flex. And then once we have it situated, we will then put it set it down on a nice flat surface and lay a book on it so that it straightens out. See how we can straighten it out there? It's got this really bad bow to it. We need to straighten that out. We do have some other sub-assemblies done. These gaps will get filled, and then we'll sand them smooth. The engine, now there were some fit issues in here, but I'm not overly concerned because, again, once it's on the frame and it's in the van, you're really not going to see much of it. I'm not actually going to put a whole lot of detail or effort in the engine. I wanted to make sure the bottom, though, was cleaned up enough that it would be presentable when I pick up the van and look at the bottom. So you're looking at it like this. I wanted to make sure everything was good and solid there. I did notice earlier that this little nub here, I can put, I'm going to manufacture a drain plug because that's where the oil drain would be. So I'm going to manufacture a drain plug so that's at least in place, just so that when you do flip it over, it's one of those things you see, it catches your eye. But that's it for this week's video. Tune in for next week's. We have a lot more work ahead of us. I have to finish cleaning this up. There was a whole lot of flash on this, a lot more than I really anticipated. And I spent nearly 2 hours just cleaning up this area here on it and getting back here. But as you can see, I haven't even gotten this mess yet, or gotten right up in here, gotten around the back yet. So I still have a lot more work to do on this to clean it up. I have more work to do on here, obviously, because I got to cut that off. We don't need these parts. I was looking at it and going, I can actually recreate that with the sheet styrene and plastic filler if needed. And I can show you how to do that, but the bulk of it will be, instead of a angled back like this, because of the pickup bed, it's going to be straight up and down, but we do want to have that curve. So we take the flat sheet styrene, we'll use this as an example. We lay it in, we get it in there, and we want to get that curve. Well, once we have our wall in place, we then add a second layer and then maybe a third layer, just slightly offset from each other. And then we use what I call sprue goo. This here is an old bottle of Tamiya extra thin cement, not the extra thin quick setting, but the regular extra thin cement. And I had just a little bit left. Originally just had a little bit left. Well, what I did was I started loading in bits of sprue, because the Tamiya extra thin melts the plastic, and you get it in there. Now right now it's kind of thin, so as you can see it's shaking up and it's looking kind of white, so it's kind of thin. But with all the cleanup I have done, I'm going to be adding a lot more to this sprue goo, and it will thicken up little bits here and there. And then we'll apply it, either the sprue goo or the putty, which I seem to have misplaced, or the Tamiya putty. And then once it's all dry, then we use our 800 grit sandpaper, and we just very carefully go over it like this, and then we get this rounded corner on this, and you will never be able to tell the difference. So again, that's it for this week's video. Stay tuned for next week's and see how far we've gotten. There will be update photos over on Facebook. That's His and Hers Hobby Headquarters on Facebook. There will be update photos over there as we're going along and getting these things cleaned up, so you can see how they're turning out. And yeah, so stay tuned. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. If you have questions, feel free to comment, ask away. Head on over to Facebook, follow us over there at His and Hers Hobby Headquarters, and enjoy the upcoming week. Have a good night.